A cultural misunderstanding. Zara adjusted her environmental suit settings as she stepped off the research vessel onto Earth's surface. As lead xenobiologist from the collective of rational beings, she had spent years studying this emotional species from afar. Now, finally getting permission for direct observation, she couldn't suppress a slight tremor in her third hand, what her people would consider a serious breach of emotional control. "Welcome to the International Xenological Research Center," a human female approached, extending her hand. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, your liaison." Zara stared at the outstretched appendage, her implanted translator struggling to process this primitive greeting ritual. She had studied human customs extensively, but theory and practice were proving to be quite different. "Greetings, Dr. Chen. I am researcher first class Zara 9 of the collective," she replied, carefully mimicking the hand motion, but missing entirely, her three-fingered hand passing through empty air beside Zara's. Zara smoothly turned the awkward moment into a gesture toward the facility. "Please come inside. We've prepared a full orientation and your private research space." The research center was a chaos of sensory input that made Zara's neural processors strain to categorize everything. Humans of varying sizes, colors, and shapes moved about with no apparent order. Their voices carried different tones and volumes, their movements followed no standardized patterns, and their clothing showed no clear hierarchical markings. How did they function in such disorder? "Your primary research focus is human reproductive biology, correct?" Sarah asked as they entered a sterile laboratory space that felt comfortingly familiar to Zara. "Affirmative. The collective has particular interest in understanding how a species that relies on such an inefficient reproduction method has achieved spacefaring status." Sarah's lips curved upward, a smile Zara's database supplied, though the xenobiologist couldn't fathom why this topic would trigger an expression of pleasure. "Well, you've certainly come to the right place, though I should warn you that human reproduction and sexuality can be complex topics." Complex? The mechanics seem quite straightforward based on our preliminary studies. Insert tab A into slot B, genetic material transfers, new organism begins development. Rather primitive compared to our engineered reproduction pods. Sarah's face flushed red, another puzzling physiological response. "There's quite a bit more to it than that. Human reproduction involves emotional and social elements that are deeply intertwined with the biological process." Emotional elements? How can emotions possibly be relevant to a basic biological function? Zara's confusion was evident in the rapid color shifts of her translucent skin, from its normal calm blue to a puzzled green. "Perhaps it would be better to show you some educational materials first," Sarah suggested, moving to a computer terminal. "We should establish a foundation before moving to direct observation." Direct observation. Zara's skin shifted to alarmed orange. "You mean watching humans mate?" Sarah nearly choked on her coffee. No, nothing like that. We have medical imaging, anatomical models, and approved educational content. Though human reproduction is natural, observing it directly would be considered a serious privacy violation." Privacy? For a biological function. How do you study it properly then? "That's actually a perfect example of the cultural differences we'll need to address," Sarah said, regaining her composure. For humans, reproduction and sexuality are intimate matters. They're connected to our concepts of personal privacy, consent, and emotional bonds. Zara's research appendage was frantically taking notes. Fascinating. So humans have constructed elaborate social protocols around a basic biological process. This seems highly inefficient. Efficiency isn't always the primary goal for humans, Sarah explained patiently. Sometimes the complexity itself has value. Illogical, Zara stated, but continued recording the information. "Please proceed with showing me these educational materials." Sarah pulled up a basic anatomy presentation, and Zara leaned forward with scientific interest. However, her focus was suddenly disrupted by an unexpected sight through the lab's window. two humans pressing their faces together in the courtyard. Emergency. Zara's translator squawked as she pointed. Those humans appeared to be attempting to consume each other's facial tissues. Sarah looked where she was pointing and laughed. That's kissing, Zara. It's a form of affectionate physical contact, often associated with romantic attraction. They exchange oral bacteria for romantic purposes. Zara's skin rippled with confusion patterns. How does this relate to reproduction? It's a form of intimate physical contact that can be part of courtship and sexual attraction, but doesn't have to be. Humans kiss for many reasons: romantic love, familial affection, cultural greeting in some places. Love, Zara interrupted. This concept appears in much of our preliminary research but remains poorly understood. Is it a form of mental illness? A chemical addiction? Sarah's expression softened. Love is complicated. It's an emotional bond between people. It can be romantic, familial, platonic. It's part of what makes us human. But what is its function? How does it serve the species? Not everything needs a clear function, Zara. Sometimes things just are. Love brings meaning to our lives, helps us form connections, builds families and communities. Meaning? Connections. Zara's skin was cycling through colors so rapidly she looked like a malfunctioning display. I do not understand. How can something with no clear purpose bring meaning? Sarah smiled gently. That's what you're here to learn about, isn't it? Understanding humanity means understanding that not everything can be quantified or categorized. Sometimes the things that seem most inefficient or illogical to outsiders are what make us who we are. Zara stared at her for a long moment, her color settling into a thoughtful purple. I begin to suspect this research project will be more challenging than anticipated. Don't worry, Sarah assured her. We'll start slow, though I should probably warn you about a few more things before you begin interacting with other humans. We have some pretty strict rules about personal space and appropriate touching. More rules about physical contact. How do you ever get anything done with so many behavioral restrictions? Trust me, Sarah said with a slight grin, you're going to want to know these rules. Let's start with the basics of human personal boundaries. As Sarah began explaining concepts of personal space, Zara's research appendage worked furiously to record everything. She had a growing suspicion that understanding human reproduction would require understanding humans themselves, an infinitely more complex task than she had imagined. But as she watched the kissing humans outside separate with those strange upturned lips, she felt an unfamiliar sensation, curiosity about something beyond pure scientific inquiry. Perhaps, she thought, there was more to learn here than the collective had anticipated. Her skin shifted to a shade of blue that, had Sarah known how to read it, would have indicated the beginning of a profound paradigm shift. The research begins. 2 weeks into her Earth assignment, Zara found herself increasingly puzzled by human behavior. The research center's break room had become her favorite observation post, a place where humans gathered to perform their strange socializing rituals over cups of heated bean water they called coffee. I don't understand, Zara said to Sarah one morning, her skin flickering between shades of confusion. These humans spend approximately 23.4% of their work hours engaging in non-work activities. They discuss their weekends, share images of their offspring, and make sounds they call laughter at seemingly random intervals. Sarah sipped her coffee, hiding a smile. That's called building workplace relationships, Sarah. It helps create a positive work environment. But how does discussing employee Jenkins' infant's first solid food consumption contribute to scientific progress? Zara's third hand was frantically taking notes, as always. Humans are social creatures, Sarah explained. These connections help us work better together. Speaking of which, she hesitated. The other researchers have noticed you standing in corners recording their conversations. It's making them a bit uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. Zara's skin rippled with distress. But I maintain the regulation 2-meter distance for observation. Yes, but constantly watching people without interacting is considered, well, creepy. Creepy, Zara's translator struggled with the word. I do not understand. I am conducting scientific observation. Zara thought for a moment. Think of it this way. Humans prefer to be participants rather than subjects. Why haven't you tried joining the conversations instead of just recording them? Zara's skin turned a pale yellow of anxiety. Join? But what would I say? Well, people have been curious about you too. You could tell them about your home world or ask questions about Earth. Just, maybe avoid the detailed reproductive biology questions for now. Before Zara could protest, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez entered the break room. He was one of the younger researchers, known for his friendly demeanor and endless enthusiasm about his work in comparative xenobiology. Good morning, he called out cheerfully. Hey Zara, I've been meaning to ask, is it true your species reproduces through binary fission? Zara's skin flushed deep purple with professional pride. Oh no, that's quite primitive. The collective uses engineered reproduction pods. Each new being is precisely calibrated for optimal genetic expression and role fulfillment, much more efficient than your random genetic recombination method. Marcus's eyes lit up with interest rather than the offense Zara feared. Fascinating. But doesn't that limit genetic diversity? How do you handle adaptation to new environmental pressures? For the first time since arriving on Earth, Zara found herself engaged in what humans would call a real conversation. Her color shifted to an eager blue-green as she explained collective reproduction technology, while Marcus asked thoughtful questions that demonstrated genuine scientific curiosity. Zara watched with satisfaction as other researchers gradually joined the discussion. Soon the break room was filled with an animated exchange about different reproductive strategies across known spacefaring species. But what about pair bonding? Asked Dr. Chen from the xenopsychology department. Does the collective form any kind of emotional attachments? Zara's color dimmed slightly. We have productive partnerships based on compatibility metrics and shared goals. Emotional attachment is considered inefficient and potentially disruptive to optimal function. That sounds lonely, Marcus said softly. Lonely. Zara's translator struggled again. I don't understand. It's an emotional state, Zara explained. A feeling of isolation, of missing connection with others. But if all practical needs are met, how can one be lonely? Zara asked. The humans exchanged glances that Zara couldn't interpret. Finally, Marcus spoke again. Humans need more than just practical needs met. We need emotional connections, relationships, love. Ah yes, this love concept again. Zara's research appendage twitched. I have been studying it, but find no consistent definition. It appears to be a form of temporary insanity that causes humans to act against their own interests. The break room erupted in laughter, causing Zara's skin to ripple with alarm. That's not entirely wrong, Marcus chuckled. Love can definitely make us crazy sometimes, but it's also what makes life worth living for many humans. Worth living? Zara's confusion deepened. But life's worth is measured in contribution to collective progress, is it not? For your people, maybe, Zara said gently. But humans often find meaning in things that can't be measured: love, art, music, friendship. These intangibles. Zara's skin shifted to a thoughtful violet. They serve no clear purpose, yet humans consistently prioritize them. Most puzzling. Tell you what, Marcus suggested, why don't you join us for lunch today? A group of us eat together in the courtyard when weather permits. It might help you understand these puzzling human behaviors better. Zara's immediate instinct was to decline. Meal consumption was meant to be efficient and solitary. But something in her was changing, a growing curiosity about these strange human ways. I would like that, she said, surprising herself. Though I must warn you, my consumption of nutrient paste may not be aesthetically pleasing by human standards. Don't worry about it, Marcus grinned. You should see how Dr. Jenkins eats spaghetti. More laughter filled the room, and this time, Zara felt something strange, a desire to understand the source of their amusement, to be part of this inexplicable sharing of joy. As she followed her new colleagues to lunch, her skin shifted to a color she had never displayed before, one that in her species indicated the first stirrings of emotional awakening. Sarah noticed the unique hue that said nothing, simply smiling to herself. The process of understanding humanity had begun, and it would change Zara in ways she couldn't yet imagine. Strange new sensations. 1 month into her Earth assignment, Zara found herself experiencing what her species would consider dangerous malfunctions. Her color control was becoming erratic, especially around Marcus. Her third hand would tremble without cause. Most alarming of all, she caught herself smiling, a completely unnecessary facial movement she had unconsciously adopted from the humans. Sarah, she cornered her liaison one morning, skin flickering with distress. I believe I require medical attention. My systems are showing signs of severe dysfunction. Sarah looked up from her computer. What's wrong? Yesterday, while Marcus was explaining human courtship rituals, my heart rate increased by 23.7%. This morning, I spent 7.4 minutes selecting my lab coat, concerned it might be unflattering, a completely irrational consideration. And during lunch, I experienced an unexplained desire to sit closer to him. Clearly, I am malfunctioning. A slow smile spread across Sarah's face. Oh, Zara, you're not malfunctioning. I think you might be developing feelings for Marcus. Zara's skin turned a horrified gray. Impossible. The collective bred out such primitive responses generations ago. We are beings of pure logic. Are you sure about that? Sarah asked gently. Because your symptoms sound exactly like attraction. No, Zara's third hand began frantically organizing nearby lab equipment, a nervous habit she developed. No, that's not possible. I am here to study human reproduction, not participate in it. Besides, interspecies attraction would be highly irregular. Love doesn't always follow regular patterns, Sarah said, and Marcus has been spending a lot of time with you. For research purposes only, Zara protested, but her skin was shifting to the telltale purple of emotional confusion. As if summoned by their conversation, Marcus appeared in the doorway. Hey Zara, want to join me in the xenobiology lab? I'm running some fascinating comparisons on neurotransmitter responses across different species. Zara's skin immediately flickered to a bright, interested blue, a reaction she couldn't control. Yes, I mean, that would be a productive use of research time. Sarah hid another smile as Zara hurried after Marcus, her third hand clutching her ever-present research tablet. In the lab, Marcus pulled up complex neural scanning data on the main display. See these patterns. They show emotional responses in various species. Humans, Arcturians, even some readings from your people. Zara leaned closer, genuinely fascinated, but the collective doesn't experience emotions. These scans suggest otherwise, Marcus said gently. Look here. These patterns in collective brains are very similar to emotional responses in other species. They're just suppressed. That's impossible, Zara whispered, but her skin was rippling with uncertainty. We evolved beyond such primitive responses. Or maybe you just convinced yourselves you did, Marcus suggested. Zara, I've been watching you change since you arrived. You laugh at jokes now. You participate in inefficient social interactions. You show curiosity about things beyond pure scientific data. Those are adaptations for research purposes, but her skin was betraying her, shifting through colors that reflected her inner turmoil. Marcus stepped closer, his voice soft. Is that really all it is? Because I've noticed something else too. The way your color changes when we're together. How you mirror human expressions now, especially smiling. How you've started using human gestures. Zara backed away, her skin a chaos of colors. I should go. This line of inquiry is inappropriate. But Marcus gently caught her hand, the normal one, not her research appendage. The contact sent an electric shock through her system, causing all three of her hearts to race. Is it inappropriate, he asked, Or are you just scared of what it means? I'm not scared, Zora protested. Fear is an emotion. I don't have emotions. I can't have emotions. I am a researcher of the collective. Then why is your skin glowing pink right now? The same pink I've only seen when you're happy. When you're with me? Zora looked down at her betraying skin in horror. Pink was the color of pair bonding in her species, a color that hadn't been seen in generations, since the collective had engineered emotions out of their population. This is wrong, she whispered. I was sent to study human reproduction, not fall in love, Marcus completed softly. The words hit her like a physical blow. Her skin went completely transparent, a sign of total emotional overload in her species. I have to report this, she said, her voice shaking. The collective must be informed. I'm experiencing dangerous mutations, emotional contamination. I'll be recalled immediately. Or, Marcus suggested, still holding her hand, you could wait. Study these feelings. Document them. Isn't that what you came here for? To understand human emotions about reproduction and relationships. By observing, not by experiencing. But isn't direct experience the best form of research? His smile was gentle, understanding. Think about it, Zara. You've learned more about human emotions in the past month than the collective has learned in decades of detached observation. Zara's skin slowly began to regain its color, settling into a thoughtful purple. The collective teaches that emotions make us weak, vulnerable, inefficient. And what has your research shown you about humans? Are we weak because we feel? Inefficient because we love? She thought about everything she'd seen. Humans supporting each other through difficulties, celebrating each other's successes, working together in ways that defied pure logic, but somehow produced remarkable results. No, she admitted finally. Your emotions seem to strengthen you, connect you. Even when they appear illogical, they drive you to achieve things pure reason might dismiss as impossible. Marcus smiled, and Zara felt that now familiar flutter in all three of her hearts. So maybe these feelings you're developing aren't a malfunction. Maybe they're an evolution. The collective would never accept that interpretation. Then maybe it's time for the collective to learn something new about reproduction and relationships, something beyond the purely biological. Zara looked at their still joined hands, her skin slowly shifting to that forbidden pink. I need time. To process, to understand. Of course, Marcus said, finally releasing her hand. Just remember, not everything needs to be understood immediately. Sometimes you have to let yourself feel first and understand later. As Zara left the lab, her mind was chaos, but her hearts were singing an ancient song her species had forgotten generations ago. A song of connection, of possibility, of love. She needed to think. She needed to study. She needed to understand. But for the first time since arriving on Earth, she didn't immediately reach for her research tablet to document these experiences. Instead, she simply let herself feel them, her skin glowing with that long-forgotten pink, the color of awakening, of change, of evolution. The color of love. The breaking point. The message from the collective arrived exactly 6 weeks into Zara's Earth assignment. Her behavioral changes had not gone unnoticed by the automated monitoring systems embedded in her research protocols. Researcher Zara 9, the holographic projection of Elder Council member VEC-1 flickered in her private quarters. Your latest data transmissions show concerning anomalies. Your biological readings indicate severe deviations from collective norms. Explain. Zara stood rigidly, forcing her skin to maintain its professional blue shade despite her inner turmoil. Honorable Elder, my research into human reproduction and relationships has required deep immersion in their social patterns. Any biological anomalies are simply temporary adaptations for research purposes. Your color control is erratic. Your hormone levels match pre-enhancement patterns, and your neural activity. VEC-1's face showed the closest thing to emotion a collective elder could express: disappointment. You are experiencing emotions, Zara 9. Zara began, but found she couldn't lie. Her skin betrayed her, shifting to that damning pink shade. Yes, Elder, I am experiencing feelings. This is unprecedented. You'll return to the collective immediately for psychological reconditioning. Zara felt all three of her hearts skip simultaneously. Return? Leave Earth? Leave Marcus? But my research isn't complete. I'm making breakthrough discoveries about human pair bonding and emotional reproduction triggers. You are becoming contaminated by primitive responses, Vec1 interrupted. Your judgment is compromised. A replacement researcher will continue your work. No, the force of her own response shocked her. I mean, Elder, please. These experiences are valuable data. By understanding emotional responses firsthand, I can provide insights no detached observation could reveal. You sound like them. Vec1's tone carried centuries of carefully engineered disdain. Attempting to justify emotional weakness with illogical arguments. Your transport will arrive in 3 Earth days. Prepare yourself. The hologram flickered out, leaving Zara alone with her churning emotions. Her skin cycled through colors so rapidly she appeared to be glowing. A soft knock at her door made her jump. Zara, are you okay? Your lights were flashing. Marcus's concerned voice came through the door. Without conscious decision, Zara opened the door. Marcus took one look at her chaotic skin patterns and immediately understood something was wrong. What happened? The collective, her voice cracked. Another emotional tell she'd picked up from humans. They're recalling me for reconditioning. Reconditioning. Marcus's face showed alarm. What does that mean? They'll reset my neural patterns, remove these new emotional responses, make me a proper collective member again. Her third hand was shaking as she explained. They'll erase who you've become. Marcus stepped closer, his voice fierce. They can't do that. They can. They will. It's logical. I'm compromised, experiencing primitive responses, feeling things I shouldn't feel. She looked up at him, her skin settling into the pink she could no longer hide. Feeling things for you. Marcus reached out, taking both her normal hands in his. Those feelings aren't primitive, Zara. They're beautiful. They're real. They're part of who you are. Who I was engineered not to be, she corrected, but didn't pull away from his touch. The collective eliminated emotions for a reason. They make us vulnerable, irrational. They make us alive, Marcus insisted. Everything you've learned about humans, our art, our science, our achievements, they're all driven by emotion as much as logic. Passion, curiosity, love, they're not weaknesses, they're strengths. But the collective. Forget the collective. What do you want, Zara? She stared at him, struck by the question. In her entire existence, no one had ever asked what she wanted. The collective assigned. The collective directed. The collective decided. Her voice was barely a whisper. I want to stay. I want to feel. I want you. The admission sent her skin into another color chaos, but Marcus just smiled and pulled her closer. Then stay. Fight for what you want. Show the collective there's another way. How? They'll never accept emotional responses as valid data. Then we'll prove it to them, scientifically. His eyes lit up with that familiar research enthusiasm. Your neural scans, hormone levels, behavioral adaptations, they all show increased function, not decreased. We can demonstrate that emotional capacity enhances cognitive performance, strengthens social bonds, and promotes scientific innovation. Zara's scientific mind latched onto this approach. A research proposal, suggesting that controlled reintroduction of emotions could benefit the collective. Exactly. You're not contaminated, you're evolved, enhanced in a way the collective never considered. Hope, another new emotion, bloomed in Zara's chest. The elders might accept empirical evidence, even if they reject emotional arguments. And you have 3 days to prepare your case, Marcus added. We'll help you. The whole research team. We'll gather every scrap of data showing the positive effects of emotional integration. Zora's skin settled into a new color, a vibrant, determined gold. If I fail, you won't. Marcus leaned forward, and before she could process his intent, pressed his lips to hers. The kiss sent shockwaves through Zora's system. Her skin erupted in a rainbow of colors, her 3 hearts pounded in syncopated rhythm, and her research appendage dropped her ever-present tablet with a clatter. When they separated, Zara touched her lips in wonder. That was data, Marcus grinned. Very important research data about human pair bonding practices. Despite everything, Zara found herself laughing. Another human habit she'd acquired. The collective would never accept that classification. Then we'll have to expand their classification system. His expression grew serious. Fight with me, Zara. Fight for your right to feel, to love, to be more than what they engineered you to be. Looking into his eyes, Zara made her decision. For the first time in her life, she chose her own path. Not the logical one, not the efficient one, but the one her hearts told her was right. Yes, she said, her skin glowing with that beautiful forbidden pink. Help me prove that love isn't a weakness. Help me show them that emotions don't make us less, they make us more. As Marcus pulled her into another kiss, Zara's scientific mind was already racing, planning her defense of emotional evolution. But her hearts were simply singing with joy, love, and the thrill of rebellion against cold logic. She had 3 days to save herself, her feelings, and possibly the future of her entire species. It would take everything she had learned about both human emotion and scientific reasoning. But with Marcus by her side, and her newfound emotions giving her strength she never knew she had, Zara was ready to fight for her right to love, fighting for love. The research center buzzed with unprecedented activity as humans and one emotionally evolving alien worked against time. With only 2 days remaining before the collective transport's arrival, Zara and her team raced to compile their defense of emotion. Zara burst into the main lab, waving a data tablet. Look at these brain scans. Zara's neural activity since developing emotions shows a 47% increase in creative problem-solving capacity. Marcus, who hadn't left Zara's side since their kiss, quickly added the data to their growing presentation. Perfect. And look at these hormone levels. They indicate enhanced memory formation and stronger learning patterns. Zara's skin flickered between focused blue and anxious green as she reviewed their findings. The collective values quantifiable improvements. These numbers might actually make them listen. Her third hand nervously adjusted her lab coat, another human habit she'd acquired. Dr. Jenkins from neurobiology rushed in. You need to see this. I compared Zara's current brain structure to her baseline scans from arrival. Her neural pathways aren't degrading like the collective claims. They're forming new connections. She's literally evolving. Evolution through emotion, Marcus mused, squeezing one of Zara's hands. That should get their attention. Zara's skin rippled with a complex pattern of gold and pink, determination mixed with love. But will it be enough? The collective has spent generations believing emotions make us weak. Then we'll show them strength, Zara declared. Zara, remember last week when the lab's containment field failed? Your emotional response, your fear for others' safety, made you react faster than pure logic would have allowed. You saved 3 lives. And your empathy has improved your research, Marcus added. Understanding human emotions hasn't just been about observing them. Feeling them has given you insights no purely logical analysis could provide. Zara nodded slowly, her skin settling into thoughtful purple. The collective teaches that emotion clouds judgment, but I see more clearly now than ever before. I understand things I never could through logic alone. Just then, her communication panel chimed. Elder Vec 1's hologram appeared, earlier than scheduled. Zara's skin nearly went transparent with shock. Researcher Zara 9, the Elder's tone was cold. Your transport arrival has been accelerated. It will arrive tomorrow at dawn. The humans in the lab gasped. but Zara stepped forward, her skin blazing with that determined gold. "Honorable Elder, I request the opportunity to present new research findings before my departure. Your judgment is compromised. Your findings are invalid." "My findings are empirical, documented, and verified by multiple human scientists." Zara's voice grew stronger. "The collective claims to value truth above all. Will you reject data simply because you fear what it might mean?" Vec-1's hologram flickered with surprise at her challenge. "Fear is an emotion. The collective does not fear." "Then prove it," Zara pressed. "Allow me to present my research on the evolutionary advantages of controlled emotional integration. If you truly value truth, you must consider all evidence, even evidence that challenges your existing beliefs." A long silence followed. Finally, Vec-1 spoke. "You will have 1 hour before transport arrival to present your case. Choose your data carefully." The hologram vanished. "1 hour?" Sarah exclaimed. "How can we condense all this research into 1 hour?" But Zara was already moving, her 3 hearts beating with newfound purpose. "We focus on what matters most. Not just the data, but what it means. The collective needs to understand that emotions don't just affect individuals, they change entire societies." Through the night, they refined their presentation. Zara practiced delivering it, learning to use her emotional responses to strengthen her logical arguments rather than hiding them. As dawn approached, Marcus found her in her quarters, staring at her reflection, watching her skin shift between colors. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. "No," she admitted, "but that's okay. Humans have taught me that sometimes the most important things in life require us to be brave, even when we're not ready." Marcus smiled. "You know, for someone who claims she's still learning about emotions, that was a pretty profound observation." "I had good teachers." Her skin glowed pink as she looked at him. "Whatever happens." "Hey," he interrupted, taking her hands. "Don't say goodbye. This isn't over. You're going to show them everything you've shown us. That emotion and logic aren't enemies. That love makes us stronger, not weaker. That the next step in collective evolution isn't suppressing feelings, but embracing them." Zara leaned forward and kissed him, her skin erupting in that now familiar rainbow of emotion. "For science, of course," she whispered against his lips. "Of course," he grinned. "Just more research data on human pair bonding." A soft chime alerted them to approaching dawn. Zara straightened her lab coat, gathered her data tablets, and squared her shoulders. Her skin settled into a complex pattern, the gold of determination, the blue of scientific focus, and yes, the pink of love. "The collective believes love is our greatest weakness," she said. "It's time to prove that it's actually our greatest strength." As she walked toward her meeting with destiny, Zara felt no need to control her skin's colors. Let the collective see what she had become, not a malfunctioning drone, but an evolved being who had discovered that the path to true advancement lay not in suppressing emotions, but in learning to embrace them. She had 1 hour to save not just her own ability to love, but potentially the future of her entire species. And with the strength of both logic and emotion behind her, she was ready to fight for everything she had discovered on Earth, including her right to let her skin glow pink with the most powerful force in any universe: love. The final stand. Dawn painted Earth's sky in colors that seemed to mirror Zara's shifting skin as she stood before the assembled collective elders. Their transport ship loomed behind them, a stark reminder of what was at stake. Marcus, Zara, and the research team waited anxiously at a respectful distance. "Researcher Zara 9, Elder Vec-1 intoned, present your findings." Zara activated her holographic display, but instead of beginning with data charts, she showed an image that made the elders shift uncomfortably, her own skin displaying its full range of emotional colors. "Honored elders, what you see is not malfunction, it is evolution. The collective has long believed that emotion makes us weak, that logic alone leads to advancement. I stand before you as living proof that we were wrong." She brought up her neural scans. Since developing emotional capacity, My problem-solving abilities have increased by 47%. My learning retention has improved by 62%. My ability to form novel connections and hypotheses has more than doubled. These improvements could be attributed to environmental factors, another elder VEC4 countered. True, Zara acknowledged, her skin rippling with scholarly blue. So let me show you something environment cannot explain. She displayed a series of molecular scans. These show my cellular structure over the past 2 months. Watch. The elders leaned forward despite themselves as the display showed Zara's cells literally evolving, forming new patterns, creating enhanced neural pathways. Emotional development isn't degrading our species, it's advancing it. We engineered emotions out of our population believing they made us weaker. But look at humans, she gestured to her research team. Their emotions drive them to achieve the impossible. Their love for each other pushes them to solve problems pure logic would deem unsolvable. Humans are primitive, VEC1 dismissed. Their reproductive methods alone are exactly what we should be studying. Zara interrupted, her skin flashing with passionate gold. Yes, their reproduction seems inefficient compared to our pods, but their emotional bonds create something our engineered offspring lack: drive, purpose, the desire to be more than what they were programmed to be. She brought up more data. Human children, born of emotional bonds, show greater adaptability, creativity, and problem-solving capabilities than pod-grown offspring. Their emotional connections don't weaken them, they strengthen their entire species. And what of your own emotional contamination? VEC1 asked. You formed a pair bond with a human male. Zara's skin flushed pink, but she held her head high. Yes, and that bond has taught me more about humanity and about our own species than decades of detached observation ever could. Look at these readings. She displayed her vital signs from various moments, working alone, interacting casually with humans, and being with Marcus. When experiencing love, all my systems function at peak efficiency. My cognitive abilities increase. My creative problem-solving skills sharpen. Even my cellular regeneration improves. Love doesn't make me weak, it makes me stronger. But the chaos, VEC4 protested, the unpredictability, is exactly what drives evolution, Zara completed. The collective sought perfection through control. But true perfection isn't static, it's adaptive, dynamic, alive. She took a deep breath, her skin swirling with determined patterns. I'm not asking you to abandon logic, I'm asking you to expand it. To consider that emotion and reason aren't enemies, they're partners in advancement. You propose we reintroduce emotional capacity to the collective. VEC1 seemed both horrified and fascinated. I propose we stop fearing what we don't understand and start studying it properly. My research here wasn't compromised by emotions, it was enhanced by them. I understand humanity better because I can feel what they feel, and in understanding them, I've come to understand something profound about ourselves. She paused, looking each elder in the eye. We thought we were evolving by eliminating emotions. Instead, we were stagnating. True evolution requires both logic and feeling, reason and passion, science and love. Love, VEC1 repeated, the words sounding strange from their lips. You truly believe this primitive emotion has value? Zara turned to look at Marcus, her skin glowing with that beautiful pink. Love taught me to see beyond data, to question assumptions, to fight for what I believe in. If that's primitive, then perhaps we need to redefine advancement. She faced the elders again. I request permission to continue my research here on Earth, not just to study human reproduction, but to document the evolutionary advantages of emotional integration. Let me prove that we can be both logical and emotional, both scientific and passionate. The elders conferred silently through their neural network. Zara waited, her 3 hearts pounding, her skin cycling through colors of hope, fear, and determination. Finally, VEC1 spoke. Your data is compelling, unprecedented. The collective has always valued evolution above all else. If emotions truly offer evolutionary advantages, they paused. Your request is granted. Continue your research, but be warned, we will be monitoring closely. Thank you, honored elders, Zara said formally, even as her skin erupted in joyous colors. I will not disappoint you. As the elders returned to their ship, Marcus rushed to Zara's side. You did it. We did it, she corrected, pulling him close. You taught me that some things are worth fighting for. That love isn't a weakness, it's the greatest strength we have. Sarah and the research team surrounded them, celebrating, but Zara kept her eyes on the departing ship. She knew this was just the beginning. The collective would need more convincing, more data, more proof that emotions were the key to their species' next evolutionary leap. But as Marcus squeezed her hand and her skin glowed with that perfect pink of love, Zara knew she was ready for the challenge. She had logic and emotion on her side now, and together they were unstoppable. So, Marcus grinned, ready to continue our research on human pair bonding. Zara's skin flickered with playful colors. For science, of course. Of course, he agreed, pulling her into a kiss that sent rainbow ripples across her skin. Above them, Earth's sun rose fully into the sky, painting everything in colors as vibrant as Zara's emotions. It was a new dawn, not just for her, but potentially for her entire species, and she couldn't wait to see what other discoveries love would bring. The future begins. 6 months after her confrontation with the collective elders, Zara stood before a mixed audience of humans and collective observers. The research center's main auditorium was packed for her groundbreaking presentation, Emotional Integration, the next step in species evolution. Her skin glowed with confident gold as she activated the holographic display. When I first arrived on Earth, I believed I was here to study human reproduction. Instead, I discovered something far more significant, the evolutionary power of love. In the front row, Marcus smiled encouragingly. Beside him sat 3 younger collective researchers, their skin showing subtle color variations, the first signs of emotional development under Zara's guidance program. Over the past 6 months, we've documented remarkable changes in collective volunteers who've undergone controlled emotional reintegration. She displayed a series of neural scans. These show a 300% increase in neural plasticity, 150% improvement in creative problem-solving, and unprecedented levels of innovative thinking. The collective observers leaned forward, their scientific interest evident. Even Elder Vecwan, watching via hologram, showed signs of fascination. But the most remarkable changes aren't just biological, Zara continued. They're societal. Our volunteers have begun forming genuine bonds, not just productive partnerships, but emotional connections that enhance their work in unexpected ways. She gestured to her young collective proteges. Researcher Ven 12, please share your experience. A young collective member stood, their skin showing a slight pink tinge that would have been shocking 6 months ago. When I first arrived, I believed emotional responses would compromise my research. Instead, they've enhanced it. Understanding how humans feel has allowed me to understand why they do what they do. It's revolutionary. Zara nodded encouragingly. And your personal development? Ven 12's skin rippled with new colors. I've experienced happiness, friendship, even the beginnings of what humans call love. These emotions don't distract from my work, they give it meaning. Murmurs rippled through the audience as Zara displayed more data. We're seeing similar results across all our volunteer groups. The collective's fear that emotions would make us weak was based on incomplete data. Instead, we're discovering that emotional capacity, when properly integrated with logical thinking, creates something greater than either alone. She brought up images of her own cellular structure. My own evolution continues. Each new emotional experience creates new neural pathways, enhanced cellular regeneration, and improved cognitive function. I'm not just feeling more, I'm thinking better. Marcus stood up, joining her on stage as they planned. "We've also discovered something unexpected," he added. "The human capacity for emotion is affecting us too. Working with Zara and the other collective researchers has enhanced our own emotional intelligence and problem-solving abilities. It's truly a two-way evolution." Zara's skin glowed with that now familiar pink as she looked at him. Which brings us to our most exciting discovery, the possibility of true human collective collaboration, not just in research, but in life. She revealed the final set of data, causing gasps from both humans and collective observers. These are genetic compatibility studies. With proper emotional development and some genetic adaptation, humans and collective members could potentially reproduce naturally, Marcus finished, taking her hand. Creating children with the best of both species, collective logic and human emotion, perfectly balanced. Elder Vekwan's hologram flickered with interest. "You believe cross-species reproduction is possible?" "More than possible," Zara said confidently. "It's the next natural step in both our species' evolution, but it requires something the collective once feared, the capacity to love." She squeezed Marcus's hand, her skin displaying a complex pattern of pink love, gold determination, and blue scientific certainty. "I stand before you as living proof that emotion and logic can coexist. That love doesn't weaken us, it makes us stronger. And that the future of both our species lies not in separation, but in connection." The young collective researchers were showing more obvious color changes now, inspired by her words. Even some of the older observers displayed subtle shifts in their typically monochrome appearance. "The choice before us is clear," Zara concluded. "We can cling to our old beliefs about emotional suppression, or we can embrace its new evolution. We can fear love, or we can let it guide us to possibilities we never imagined." She looked out at the audience, seeing hope in human eyes and awakening curiosity in collective ones. "I choose love, not despite being a scientist, but because of it. Because love is the most powerful force for evolution we've ever encountered." The applause that followed wasn't just from the humans anymore. The young collective researchers joined in, their skin flickering with new emotions they were just beginning to understand. Later, as they stood in their favorite spot in the research center's garden, Marcus pulled Zara close. "You did it. You're actually changing centuries of collective thinking." "We did it," she corrected, her skin shimmering with joy. "You taught me to love. I just showed others why that matters." "And this business about human collective reproduction," he raised an eyebrow teasingly. Zara's skin flickered with playful colors. "Pure scientific curiosity, of course. We'll need to conduct extensive research. Years of careful study, numerous experiments. For science," he grinned, pulling her into a kiss. "For science," she agreed when they parted, "and for love." Above them, Earth's sun painted the sky in colors as varied as Zara's emotions. Somewhere in the research center, young collective members were discovering their own capacity for feeling. In orbit, Elder Vekwan was reviewing data that would change their species forever. And here, in this garden, a human man and an alien woman who had learned to love stood at the beginning of something entirely new, an evolution driven not by cold logic or pure emotion, but by the perfect balance of both. Zara's skin settled into that beautiful pink glow as she looked toward the future. She had come to Earth to study reproduction, only to discover that love itself was the most powerful force for creation in the universe. It wasn't the end of her research. In many ways, it was just the beginning. But with love as her guide and science as her tool, she was ready to explore whatever wonders lay ahead. After all, she thought as Marcus kissed her again, some experiments were worth conducting forever.